Poppin' players, welcome back to the Two Penny Game Club. This month, Dark Souls 2. This is your monthly video game book club in which I, your host, Tavin Bothel, alongside my fellow panel members here, say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
I should have bought some Dark Souls 2 merch for this episode.
You should have. What are you doing? You got the Dark Souls 1 behind you. You know, that's new. That wasn't there when we did Dark Souls 1.
It was not.
No.
So it seems like I'm cursed to never, until Bloodborne, where I'm going to wear my Bloodborne sweater.
There you go.
Even though it'll be warm, probably, by the time that happens.
You got a little something on your nose right here. I think it's
probably
just
a booger because I was picking my nose.
No, I think it was just seltzer water, just a little bubble of water on your nose that hit your nose. You know, nothing that crazy. You know.
What's going on?
And then say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Hello, I'm Phil.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club where we play a game in the background, and then at the beginning of each new month, we come to you with a review of that game, and then we rank it amongst the other games that we've played in the series. We've done things such as The Last of Us, Halo, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and up until this point, we've been working our way through the From Software catalog, starting with Demon's Souls. A few months ago, we did Dark Souls, and now we have done Dark Souls 2. And I'm quite interested to hear what everybody has to say today about Dark Souls 2. And I'm going to let y'all know right off the bat, this is going to be a nerdy one. This is going to be a lot of talking. It's going to be a lot of talking about systems, about numbers, and about just general game feel. So I'm very, very excited and very interested to get into it with everybody today. Dark Souls 2 launched March 11th, 2014 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It's got a Metacritic of 91. It is the highest rated Dark Souls game in the series.
I still don't even know with...
What? And I think it's like top 3 rated From Software catalog games.
Which is very strange because even at the time, this wasn't as high as regard as Dark Souls 1 or
That's
3.
insane.
I think the hype got to the journalists, if I'm going to say anything about that.
That is insane.
Selling over 10 million units in its lifetime, developed by From Software, published by Bandai Namco, directed, and I didn't know this, Connor. I just got this today when I did a quick little collection of facts. Directed by Tomohiro Shibuya and Yui Tanimura, with original director Hidetaka Miyazaki serving as a supervisor. Shibuya led the early trouble development, while Tanimura took over to salvage the project and direct the DLC.
Interesting.
Very interesting, right? And I think kind of starts putting a couple of things in place, you know? Ladies and gentlemen,
how are you going to broach this subject, Tavin?
the scientific method is just as much about finding out what doesn't work as much as it is about finding out what does work, right? And I think Dark Souls 2 changes a lot about its formula that really shows you what exactly does not work about this formula. And I appreciate the experimentation. I appreciate, trying to change it up and figure out what works and doesn't work in that sense. And some of it works. I think a lot of it kind of doesn't. And it's not that the game is bad. I think the game is fine. I actually think the game is overwhelmingly okay. Like, it's an overwhelmingly okay video game. The best thing I can say about it is that, unlike the two games before it, it's consistent all the way through. It's just unfortunate that it's consistently meh all the way through. Listen, we're going to get into a lot of the smaller details later. I know for a fact we are. But I think this game is a great example of how critical level design is, especially to a From Software game. This one takes a more linear approach to its levels. You're running through pretty straightforward through it. There's not a lot of interconnectivity through the levels. There's not even a lot of shortcuts in the levels. And the shortcuts that are there are pretty basic ones that don't really inspire any wow factor as you explore the levels. And I think most of the levels are fine. I think a lot of the enemy designs are fine. I think a lot of the boss fights are fine. Like, that is my descriptive word to use for Dark Souls 2. Nothing excites me. Nothing enrages me outside of just how frustrating the game design loop is.
I believe
naturally.
a fine on the Two Penny Games scale is a 6 out of 10. Oh, no, sorry. That's a 5 out of 10. It's fine.
I mean, I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 10, but I would probably give it a 6. But,
That would make it all right.
that would make it all right. But Across the board, fine. It's making all right. I guess. What do you got there? There are a couple of highlight levels. Drangelic Castle,
Drang Lake.
Drangleic Castle, and Iron Keep. I like those two. But I'll be honest. There's a lot of the levels I find incredibly forgettable. Like, I just don't remember a lot of the levels. And I feel the same way about the boss fights. There's a couple of boss fights that I'm like, oh, these are good boss fights. And then the rest I'm like, sure, I guess.
We'll talk more about the locations when we get into Phil's top 5 favorite Dark Souls.
I didn't know he had another one. I didn't know he had another one.
I'm going to do it for each one.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I've decided.
He's decided. And so, the level design, I think, is really just the crippling blow to this game, where because it's more linear and it's more singular in focus, I guess you should say, or like the player just moves along a singular path for the most part, that means that the player is also not, and because fast travel is so easy and accessible here, the player is not backtracking through levels like they were in the last game, which means that their grind slows down, which means we have to add more enemies to the level, which means the levels are easily grinded. Like, it's just a layering effect where you just go, what the shit is going on? I think there's too many enemies per level. They just flood, what should a level designed for, if one singular room in a level is designed for 3 to 4, maybe 5 enemies, they've got 8 or 9 to 11 sometimes in one room. And it's just overwhelming and frustrating and not fun. Like, it's just annoying. And it makes the grind so much more of a grind. And I feel like they knew this because it's very easy to grind out levels in this game for that reason, because you can just walk through 12 dudes and get mad amount of souls. So then they incorporate a gameplay function in which, enemies despawn after a while, and you have to make it harder if you want them to come back. And I'm like, this wasn't a problem in the last game, but now you've made it a problem in this one. And,
It wasn't something I ever used, but they come back if you use the bonfire aesthetic, right?
That's
the soul level, essentially. Yeah.
I just... There's just so much about the game, and I don't want to stay here ranting and raving about it, and I want to let these other two gentlemen speak. But I'll say, for the most part, for a large part of this game, I thought that this was by far like the worst one. Now, it didn't turn out to be that way. I think it is generally better than Demon Souls. I don't think it's like, I think Demon Souls is a not good, maybe even a bad game that I like and that I respect. Dark Souls 2 is an all right game that I don't like, and I will never play it again. And even if I do play it again, it is simply because I'm working my way back through the franchise, and I'll be like, maybe I was too hard to Dark Souls 2. Maybe I should give Dark Souls 2 another shot. But I'm going to end it with this. In the Dark Souls 1 review, I established that Miyazaki and From Software games are all about the BBL. That is the boss, the build, and the level design. The state of the BBL is in shambles. It is atrocious. The levels are not interesting and boring. The bosses are not interesting and boring and just plain forgettable across the board. And what was the other thing? The builds. Builds are good here. I like the builds here. We've just kind of expanded on what we had in the last game, and so now there's just more.
There's things I like and things that I really don't like.
When we start getting nerdy about the conversations and how stat breakdowns work, I've got some critiques on that. Again, I think it's an interesting experimentation. Don't ever do it again.
Never again.
Speaking specifically to the agility stat, don't ever do that shit again. But we're gonna get all into that later. Connor, I want to jump to you. What was your experience this time playing through Dark Souls 2? Which this is not your first time playing it.
No. I have played over 300 hours of this game in the past collectively. I would constantly start new games over and over and over again because that's really where, as you were saying, the build is the key strength of this game. Now, I'm not going to lie. I love Dark Souls 2. Love it. Love it. It's better. Let's look at Portal, for example. That's a perfect game, right? Perfect game. Who gives a shit about Portal? Who remembers Portal? Everyone remembers Portal 2.
I remember Portal.
And I remember GLaDOS from Portal 1 and the gun itself. Very cool. It's such a boring game. This one, so much more life, so much more spirit in it. I'm not even lying about that. But
I don't agree.
Jokes aside, there are many flaws with this game. But there are so many positives to expound upon. So, from my experience with the game, constantly being able to go back and take a completely different direction with the builds and whatever your starting class is was always a great enjoyable experience of mine. But even further than that is the game is built upon itself to be replayed over and over and over again to gain access to a lot of the different weapons and spells and multi-class into other different fields. Like, for example, by the time I was already finished with my playthrough or getting to the end of it, I was starting to go more into intelligence, partly to do something called hexes in this game that use both those skills in tandem. But even aside from that, I just wanted to be able to wield other weapons that also had maybe some intelligence requirements to it. And at the end of the game, going into new game, that would become a lot more viable. The ability to make the game harder, either through the bonfire aesthetics or, more importantly, through the Champions Guild or the Covenant, where everything becomes harder. And you could do that at the very beginning of the game, even on your first playthrough. And so if it ever gets a little bit stale, you can always jump into that. Some of the more tutorialization in Dark Souls games has never been the best. It's been pretty bad. I like that about it. This is one where it's the first time I would say the lack of tutorialization can make the game not as good as it could be. For example, I didn't really tell you guys about this, but there's a whole system called power stancing. So you get two different weapons, and it completely changes how they function as weapons. You have two in each hand. It's kind of the beginning of the more dual-wielding aspect that Dark Souls 3 dives into, and especially Elden Ring. But you hold down triangle, and you switch from your normal one weapon in one hand and another in the other, and you, again, start attacking differently. And you could do this with great swords, you could do this with long swords, you could do this with a dagger, and all it takes is for you to have a bit of a higher dex or strength skill attribute to be able to do so. It has to, I think, going into numbers, it has to be like 50% more than the requirement demands of you be able to power stance something.
I was going to say, is this not the, like, you two-hand something if it's...
No. Two hands a whole other different thing. It's called power stancing. Okay. Usually it's more, it builds upon the dual-wielding aspect of having two different weapons out.
Okay.
And, you know, it just adds that little bit of extra depth. Unfortunately, it's not something you really are aware of unless you have prior knowledge of it. One of those things is, for example, I'm going to pull a Tavin.
Yeah.
We're
trying to figure this out. I'm sorry.
It just, problems. There we go.
Keep going.
I forgot it was in...
Well, at that point, just didn't need that at all.
There we go. Didn't need to take my microphone away at all.
You should learn that you're just not good at two things at once, buddy.
Especially because I lost my point.
Yeah.
Power stancing.
No, but even for the further issue of not really tutorializing things all that well comes into play, we'll get into it more later, of a skill that speeds up things like drinking health potions, which is very slow in this game when you first start out.
Agility.
But because it doesn't expound on it, you don't know the specific skills you have to increase your agility score, therefore making it easier to function in any combat scenario, because as Dark Souls very much relies on is creating that gap between you and the enemy you're fighting to heal, and if you don't create enough of one, you're going to get punished for it. And, first of all, level design, yeah, you just kind of go through normally. It doesn't do a lot of interesting things, especially compared to Dark Souls 1, but the tone of the environments and the just raw design of them and just how it looks is very appeasing. Each of them are very definitively different. And unfortunately, the quality of the level design itself makes it to where they kind of bleed together. But when you play through the game, you have very definitive biomes that you enter, and they create a nice feeling within you.
I'll say aesthetically, I did enjoy how things looked.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest praise I have for the level design.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the only praises I have for the level design.
I might agree with you. I don't know if the gap between this game
and
first
one
and
is
one
that
was
much.
that big of a gap.
Mm-hmm. I think there's certain areas in one that certainly poked out in your mind, but Dark Souls 2...
You're just saying some of the levels are a little bit samey in one in comparison to two. Is essentially what you're saying.
Not in terms of the level design of how you traverse through the level
aesthetic
itself.
of it.
Yes, the aesthetic of it, especially. Regardless, the expanded amount of equipment, of weapons, makes it to where whenever you find something new, it's a lot more exciting because there's a much higher chance that you're actually going to use what you pick up rather than stick really strictly to your build. It kind of allows you to spread out your wings and do a bit more than you might otherwise think you would have done. I think the gameplay feel it has a little bit of a learning curve to it, but once you're able to make use of it, I think combat encounters can become pretty fun with the high level of enemies that they throw at you. Sometimes, of course, the double-edged sword of that is enemy placement is one of the most often criticized elements of this game, because sometimes, especially in a place like the Iron Keep level, you can just all of a sudden have someone run out of nowhere, and you're just like, I don't know where you came from, and then another guy comes up behind him.
It'd be one thing, like, yes, it is abysmal, like, just how they just throw enemies some places, but sometimes it feels like, okay, why did this person know I was here, but not this person?
Yes.
Like, just, they're like, almost like their cone of vision just activated out of nowhere.
They're set along maybe a certain path to react
Right.
from where you are.
And it just felt like, oh, this guy that was closer to me didn't react to me being here, but then that guy from fucking, I'm all the way at, I'm fucking 50 yards away, and then they're like running towards me where this guy is 2 feet away. He didn't even know I was here.
I don't want to keep interrupting Connor here, but one thing I forgot to say in my part, because he got onto it and reminded me of it. I think overall, in general, game feel, how it feels to move, swing a sword, roll, everything just feels cheaper here to me. Like, there's something off in the physics of how your player character moves here to me.
And I see what you mean. That's why I more put that on just the feel of it being so vastly different from Dark Souls 1. And there are some clipping issues where you get hit and you don't really understand why you got hit.
Hitboxes are a mess in this game.
That's the biggest issue with game feel. But again, once you kind of learn how enemies function in terms of how they swing a sword, you could work around that a lot more and play with the game to, not chafe against it. The last thing I'll say before moving on to Phil was I enjoy how because I know you guys didn't really do it all that much. I made a point, too, of following the NPC quest lines to their end, and I found them a lot more interesting, found them more easier to find along the path. That's helped due to the fact that the level design is so linear, and you kind of just naturally come across people in the world. But I think depending on if you're able to complete certain character quests, they have very satisfying endings. For example, there's a character by the name of Lucatiel, and she's a big part of this game is the effect of the curse on people.
Remind me which one this is.
She's the one with the
mask. Yeah, the like helmet with the.
Where
the
do you
leaf in
find
it.
her?
You can either find her. You found her first in the Lost Bastille. You could find her in No Man's War first. It depends on which one you go to.
I got you.
And you see her slowly degrade and forget herself, with her final interaction being that she completely forgets you, but asks that you remember her, that you remember her name, remember her story, because she won't herself. And it hammers home the fact that this world is. And this especially helps with the setup for Dark Souls 3, is just a world of degradation of, even though you're constantly striving to link the fire like you did in the first game, it doesn't seem like anything really on the ground level changes. And it's that aspect of the deterioration of society as time goes on is an interesting theme explored through at least that character quest line. And again, as I was just saying before, sets up for what they culminate with Dark Souls 3, which is the masterpiece of the Dark Souls franchise.
All right.
Phil, where are you at?
So I'm kind of in the middle of these two guys, both for the game and literally at the table, where I'll agree with a lot of what Tavin says, where I do overall still prefer Dark Souls 1. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this game feeling cheaper. I think a lot of maybe not in the sense that he's saying, but I think some of the hits are like cheap. Oh man, that was cheap. How did I get hit by that?
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking
about. But that's not what he means by that. He mentioned like the hitboxes, and that's the part that I'm referring to. I think this game is gorgeous, kind of like how we talked about aesthetically pleasing and how these levels are. I think that a lot of the way they play with color here, whether you're just at Majula and you see that like big beautiful sunset off in the distance, whether you're in like the depths and like the part underneath
Black Gulch gutter,
underneath the gutter,
yeah,
where it's like kind of got like the glowy green, like with all the poison coming at you, and like there's like the what are they called?
Stone statues.
Yeah.
Spitting their dumb poison.
Just like it's almost like a neon green, and kind of how that reacts. And I think it's interesting.
Hated that level.
No, it's a terrible level, but I think aesthetically it looks neat.
Yeah.
And then like that big fiery room when you're fighting the Rotten. I think that was an interesting like boss room. Terrible boss, but interesting boss room. And I also have to agree with Tavin where I don't think I think the biggest thing that I look for in these FromSoft games are interesting bosses and fun boss fights. And it's unfortunate that there's just not that many memorable ones here. Whereas like there were a ton of them that I still remember from Dark Souls 1, where I think the only ones that really stick out for me in Dark Souls 2, I think of the what's the Flame Knight, the
Smelter Demon?
Smelter Demon. Thank you. That's I think of the Smelter Demon. I think of the like duo boss fight, even though I wasn't a big fan of it. It sticks out to me. Like the one right before Nishandra, the duo Throne Watcher and Throne Defender.
Really
Yes.
didn't like that fight.
Wasn't a big fan. Wasn't a big fan.
I thought you said you liked it.
I like it.
No, I think it's a neat boss. I'm not a big fan of like the fight itself.
I see.
I was a really big hater of the rat horde fight. I think that fight was stupid.
Royal Rat Authority.
Yeah, terrible. But you know, I just
That's a random one to hate.
I just really didn't like it.
Okay.
Like for me, I know you guys like pointed out, oh man, this one's got the mohawk. For me, it was more like, oh, I'm trying to get away from these rats that are swarming me. I don't notice one of them's particular hairstyle.
So
To be like, oh, that's the one that's doing damage.
you said you don't know why you thought of that one. Definitely a lot of the Souls fans are thinking of that one because they do not like that.
Really?
They find it to be very cheap and easy.
Nah. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
the boss is because I think the boss is easy.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's easy.
Other people say it's easy. Yeah,
So
like they say
it's
easy
not
and-
necessarily a hard fight. It's just like it's just annoying. Like
I can see that.
all these rats keep coming at me. Like I'm sweeping them with my, because I'm using the ultra greatsword. I'm sweeping with the big ultra greatsword. I got like a big fucking, essentially a big broom just taking care of these fucking dust bunnies in front of me.
That
But
is
they're
what
just,
it is.
if they hit you like 2 or 3 times, I don't think I had that high health at the time. So I was getting hit just a couple times and then getting
To be fair,
staggered.
I was over leveled for that fight, but I don't see much difference between that one and the what are they? The congregate of like the prayer people.
Yeah,
the congregation.
Yeah, that
That one was hella easy.
I don't see a
Yep.
difference between the rats and them.
Well, I mean, there's way more rats, and they continuously spawn.
Yeah, but they were less dangerous.
Sure. And I think the biggest negative that I have towards this game is just how deep they tried to get in with the stat system, and just how it just did not work for me at all. I really did not enjoy. Sorry, let me come back. I enjoyed when you're leveling up. I enjoyed that it highlighted what stat is going up. I thought that was really neat. I just think that they're doing too much with the different aspects of what you could level up in order to make your stats higher. I like the more simplistic, you have 7 things that you're leveling up, not what was 10 or 11 different stats that you're leveling up.
And then the hidden mechanics behind those things.
Right.
Like dodge rolling and healing speed.
Right, exactly. I just think overall it was just very frustrating, just that in general. I can say definitively that I'm not a fan of the enemies despawning, where I guess that is them trying to remedy the like runbacks and how egregious they can be sometimes. Just make the enemies placed better then. Just place them in better spots. Don't stop me from being able to continuously like level up and like if I want to go back and I feel like grinding up to a certain level and I just want to keep farming these enemies, sure I can use a bonfire aesthetic, but I feel like you're putting too many hats on hats. Like
and that's kind of where it's not necessarily that it was trying to counter the enemy placement. The enemy placement is to counter the shortcomings of the level design. So it's a domino effect. So each thing that they make a choice, and then that choice creates a problem, and their solution to that problem creates another problem.
Right.
And then the solution to that problem creates another problem. And so now we're 6 problems deep, and then like it's you just look back at that initial choice that set us
it's
on
like
this
in a
path,
cartoon,
and you go, well, why did we make that choice?
it's like in a cartoon where like a dam is cracking, right? And so we're gonna plug this hole up with this finger,
Yeah.
and then it creates another crack and then makes another hole come out with this finger. Oh, I'm gonna do that one, and then like it just fucking grab cement and go over the dam in the first place.
Yeah.
Like just make it better in the first place. Stop adding you're putting too many hats on hats. Like I don't know that
The hats.
too many hats.
The game's got too many hats.
But I want to end off my segment with a positive thing. And I've done this for all the other FromSoft games that we've done on the Game Club. First one, I was very negative when it came to Demon Souls. I talked about my top 5 least favorite things about Demon Souls. Then Dark Souls 1, I talked about my 5 favorite places in Dark Souls. And I'm going to do the same thing here for Dark Souls 2. I have Phil's top 5 favorite Dark Souls areas, Dark Souls 2 areas or locations. Number 5. Well, so sorry, I have a secret number 6 here, and it's that I like Lost Bastille / No Man's Wharf and how they connect. I like the connection there. Lost Bastille, I think,
ship is cool.
It was a very cool, like, not opening area, but one of like the first areas you go to. I think Lost Bastille is a very strong not starting. I keep saying starting, but it's very strong early area.
I think it's the first, like, oh, this is neat.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the second level you go to.
It could be,
depending on how you progress.
But number 5 on my official top 5, I have the Iron Keep, which is where you fight Smelter Demon. And all those like guys that have the katanas. I'll tell you what, with how many times I had to go through that spot, that opening area to get to Smelter Demon, I have so many of those katanas. I have so many of that armor set. I have so many of the boots. So much of that
Dude,
shit.
I was way too late in the game until I realized that we do have a storage box that you can take advantage. I was like 30 hours deep, and I was like, oh shit, that is here.
Just declutter a little bit. Yeah. Number 4, I have the Giant's Memories. I think going through all the different giant memories was really neat. I thought those were like an interesting way to kind of go to other locations in the game and be like, oh, well, let's go back in time for a little bit and then let's see what happened here at this time. And you meet like I think there's like that captain guy that you can fight the big chief giant with. I think he was pretty cool.
So that actually, if you didn't know, is the giant you fight in the main game. That's why when he sees you, he gets really, really angry because it plays around with memories and time. What are you talking about? You were talking about in the giant's memories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the giant king that you fight.
Yes,
that's the last giant, like in that first level.
That early boss fight.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Oh shit, really?
I didn't recognize that he got angry at me, but okay.
Yeah, because when he wakes up, he like gets really pissed and like storms at you because you're the one.
Oh, because you're in his memory.
You were the one that beat him. So it's kind of like the Dark
Little
Souls 1
fucky
DLC.
So I've been critical of... Critical's the wrong word. I just have a different lens on it. I have said before that From Software don't make great narratives, they make great lore. And both are forms of storytelling, which is what people always get confused. They're just different types of storytelling. A narrative is a like emotional vehicle that you place your audience in, that they then are on board with the emotional journey that goes on. Lore is just a story of what happened, like
tied into the
things and yes, your player character does stuff to make things happen, but that's not why you're here.
I was thinking more that's where the side quest with the characters, with the name characters, fills that gap because you can become attached to characters, and especially if you like, for example, Lucatiel. I use her as an example because she's the best one in Dark Souls 2. Does this more in Dark Souls 3. But you follow their journey, and you're a bystander to it and a helper to it, and maybe you're even why they're able to achieve their goals, but you're at least getting a little bit of that with those characters.
I think someone is sold on the world and the lore of that world before they give that much mind space to the NPCs and their side quests.
That's true.
Which that differentiates the two things for me. This is the first one where I've felt like, oh, there's deeper stuff going on here. Like this one feels like, oh, we've got a deep lore now.
Yeah.
Now there's like a bunch of like stories and things of the past that like we are feeling the effects of in this game. You know, it felt a little bit in Dark Souls 1, but not really. And then it really just wasn't really in there in Demon Souls really that much at all. This is the first one where I was like, there are things happening outside of me, and I don't know what they mean, and it's cool that they're there.
You know, before I forget it, because I'd already been on the kick of NPC quests, Pate, the guy with the spear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know he's trying to kill you each time, right? All those are traps that he set to try and kill you.
I think I only met him the one time.
Oh, you did?
I can't recall. Maybe I met him twice.
He does it. I think there's 3 locations where you meet him, but one of them in the Earthen Peak, that one, he like sends you on a path that's kind of dangerous. It's more so the first time you meet him, and his story is tied with Creighton, the guy that you maybe met in that forest.
Yeah, and you let him out of the cage.
Who he got trapped in there by Pate. That's what he's talking about. And
I did do
Creighton is a murderer. Like, you see it in his item description as well. He's a Knight of Mira, the same place Lucatiel's from. But his item description is like, there's some differences here where it's clearly stolen and patchworked, and he's not really from that land because he's a murderer who kills people. And he's on this path to kill Pate because he tried to kill him, screwed him over. And you can find them in Tesladora Caves, where the spiders are. And if you find all of them in their locations in the world, and they're fighting and trying to kill each other, and you can jump in to save one of them, and then they lead you to a chest, they direct you to a chest that then blows up because they're trying to kill you again. So it's a fun little quest that's in there. It's not as grand or...
So there's no patches in this game.
Paint is the equivalent of patches.
Well, that's not patches, though.
No, it's
paint.
not. Similar leather armor, but different style. It's a fun little quest you can do if you go on the path.
It's also a different voice actor.
It is, yes.
So that's not patches.
It's not, no. Patches is patches.
Indeed.
Even when he's in Elden Ring, he's patches.
That's dope. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. These things don't make these games good to me.
I know that. Really?
Those things are good and cool. They don't make they are not what's cool about these games to me, and those are not what sells the games to me. It is, and this is gonna sound reductive, but just understand that I understand that these are different levels of intensity that I'm talking about. This would be like if you said when the Aragorn actor in Lord of the Rings kicks the helmet and breaks his toe.
Do you know that was a real scream because he actually broke his toe?
Broke his toe, right? That would be like if that's what made Lord of the Rings cool,
right?
You know, and it's like, listen, that's a really cool fact. That's a really cool, fun fact, but that's not why we're here. Like, in my opinion, like that's why you might be here for your third playthrough. You know what I'm saying? Like, or an excuse to live in the world.
That's not what's getting us through the door.
That's not what's getting us to the door, and it's not what's getting us to the credits.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all of the actual gameplay that happens there. All of that other stuff is cool. I'm so glad it's there, but these are bells and whistles to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's not the core thing of the game. Like, it is just my perspective on that. I love that it's there. I want to keep emphasizing that because when I clip this out, you idiots on fucking social media are going to call me an illiterate fuck. It's not that I can't read. It's just it's not as interesting as you think it is.
From a guy who always talks about how he doesn't read books, doesn't have enough time for the greatest piece of art form that exists. Read more books. That's your problem. Do that, and then you'll like this element more.
Fun fact: me and my wife read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, same guy who wrote The Martian for January. That was our. No, it was good.
I know.
We're reading one book every month together. It's good.
Dark Souls is kind of like a book.
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's kind of like a history book.
There's a movie coming out starring Ryan Gosling in March.
It's fun. I want to watch that.
Me too.
Yes, history is fun, but like
important too.
That's not like narrative building. Like that's not like
not
storytelling in the way that everything else is storytelling. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like,
I just say that's why I pointed out as more than just a bell and whistle, because it's not something that's very done in a lot of games. Dark Souls kind of became, at least on more of a community-based focus perspective,
and also
started it to make people want to talk about it beyond just the game as you do every other game.
Absolutely. Yes. It's very exciting for fandoms to be like, oh, did you know, and do this and connect it all together. That's awesome. I love that that's there. I wish more games had that.
Like that whole thing you're talking about, The Last Giant, and how he's angry at you because of the memories. That's that. You know, Aragorn's actor broke his toe there. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But that's, I would say the difference
I'm not
with those.
That's not. I know that you even mentioned that's like being reductive.
I'm not trying to be reductive about it, but like that's a common man example that I can pull to of. Yeah. We're having this. That's the same. What you just said has the same effect as when you told me that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you know?
Neat. My counter argument to that is that's more the talk of what goes on behind the scenes of the game rather than content that's solely within the game. I think, to your point, Tavin, that's more of a good, proper criticism of how the game constantly creates problems for itself. And when you look on the back end of things, especially with how Dark Souls progresses, on that being a very good learning experience, helping to make the future games as good as they are. But that's like things you can only really understand if you're thinking of beyond the video game itself and what they're doing in the office over at FromSoft in 2014, or before that too. And I say this to your point of how that's more of a better example than, a thing that the whole point of Aragorn kicking the helmet. And what's funny about it is that he broke his toe in real life.
Yeah,
not the character breaking his toe.
Yes, but like that I think is the difference of medium. Mm-hmm. So like I could make the argument that for movies on a DVD, it's still on the DVD. It's just in the special features. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just got to, if you just go over to the special features, they'll tell you that story, right? Where in Dark Souls is, if you just tab over to the item descriptions, then they'll tell you the story and you can start piecing it. It's the same thing. It's just how video games do it versus how movies do it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And video games are keeping it within the world and not the production, because in a movie, it's just the movie. You know, like you don't. Connor, tell me the story of the 12th king in Lord of the Rings that lived 200 years ago. Like, nobody's going to tell you that story. They're only going to tell you the story of Frodo and the Hobbits and what they go on.
I know they
transition to book from, to your point, medium. The book does all those things way more in depth.
Yeah, but that's a book. You know what I'm saying?
I know
And in fact, Dark Souls is a book.
I know they did this in BioShock, and I wasn't that like interested in it when we played it. But I would be really interested in like a Dark Souls commentary track. Like
I when I was grinding through levels, I threw some I threw a
VatiVidya?
I threw a YouTuber I like reacting to VatiVidya just to give it a little bit more spice and life.
Sure.
No offense to VatiVidya, that's just I tune him out.
He's very VatiVidya is fantastic.
He does he does exactly what he needs to do.
Like he's a great like sounds to fall asleep to, like in like the most complimentary way, because he's such a soft spoken British man.
And I want to take that and get it back to you fucks, all right, who are in my fucking comments still. Listen, fuckers, you're not learning the goddamn lore by reading the item descriptions. I know 90% of you are just watching VatiVidya and then jumping into YouTube comments acting like you know something. You don't know jack shit.
There are a lot of people that do that.
Fucking
that is true.
Elitist pricks.
But continuing, I was going to continue on with my top 5 thing.
Go. This is what you see. This is the quality of Dark Souls 2.
We only got to the 5th.
We only got to number 4.
Yeah, Heaven. 4.
sorry,
What was 4?
yeah.
What was 4? Say it.
Giants Memories.
He didn't.
No,
he
don't
didn't
say
get there.
it.
Well, I was in the middle of talking about Giants Memories whenever we because you mentioned the
Right,
whole-
because then he went on. Okay,
Yeah.
we're there.
Yep, that's where we went.
and I was going to say, so like anytime in these games where I step into an area and there's like enemies that I can choose to fight that are fighting each other, I'm super into that.
Always cool.
Always cool.
Always
Having
cool.
like a big battle scene, very, very cool to me.
To that point, this is the first time I think we've seen them experiment with, I guess, scale a little bit.
Like
I mean, there's always been
in
like
terms of giants versus like the smaller enemies.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's always been like big monsters that you fight in these things, right? But like,
Yeah.
this is the first time that it's like, what does a castle siege look like in these games? Oh shit, it looks like this.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a fucking catapult that keeps hitting you while you're trying to fight a boss, and you're like, fuck,
Dude,
get away from me.
that part's really annoying. But
That's
if you get
part
like all
really
the way
annoying.
by the gate, they don't hit you anymore.
They don't. Yeah.
I got there's a like
Rampart?
a piece that there's like a piece that sticks out like over the wall, and I sat there and I just cast it.
I wonder.
Oh yeah,
Why would you do that?
because that's the way you're playing.
Cast it.
Me and Connor are playing with swords.
We're
Like
getting
this
in there
game was
like
meant
men.
to be.
Like men, people that aren't staying back behind the
It's
front
really not
lines.
that. It's not as different as you think it is. It's
So then number 3, I've got Earthen Peak.
Or the fans,
that was the first. That was the one where I was like, okay, here we go. Fine.
Earthen Peak I thought was
Very
very,
good
very
level.
cool. I also like the area like right before it with all like the poison like gas and
Harvest
everything.
Valley.
That was neat.
Yeah. So I liked is there an item that you can get in this game that like lets you see through that whole like fog area, or like no, or
No.
You just
no?
gotta put some light
I
on.
didn't think so. No, well, not really, because no, it's just all like it's like green, like poison mist.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I just casted light and I could see.
Really?
I think. Really? Because there's one part because you can see through most of it. but
It's
there's
like
a
an
few-
underneath
Yeah,
area.
there's a few parts specifically where you're like, oh no, you're blind as shit. Like
Yeah.
you cannot see.
It was
And
like something like that, and then another spot in like there's like a misty area with a bunch of like ghostly enemies that'll fight you or something like that.
Because
Oh yeah.
I went there and I was like,
Where you
fuck,
meet the
how do
head.
I do this? And
Yeah.
I want to say I just casted light.
Shaded Woods.
Shaded Woods.
And
yes.
I could see, and then I died, and then I never found that place again.
So yeah, I like that area a lot, Earthen Peak, and also like a pretty decent boss fight with the poison lady that throws her head.
The
and shit.
Medusa
Yes,
head lady.
and
Yeah,
It's very it was very much like Sense Fortress. It was very Sense Fortress esque.
It's the
100%.
equivalent to that.
I have to say, I got to that point at around hour 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very critical of Dark Souls 2 at that point. I was very upset at it. And I kept talking to Connor about it, and I was like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. But my biggest thing about it was all of the boss fights feel exactly the fucking same. It's either a stone guy or an equivalency of a stone guy. I count the last giant as a stone guy, right? A skeleton or a knight. And it's one of those three things. And it was always one of those three things until we got there. And then Medusa lady showed up, and I went, oh shit, it's a Medusa lady. All
Change
right,
your
cool.
pace.
And then I had a scorpion lady, and I was like, oh shit, a scorpion lady. Okay, cool. And then there was I would still count Smelter Demon as a night dude, but there was more like, oh, okay, this is a beast. Oh, this is a different the variety came in on the back half.
There's like another aspect to Smelter Demon where like he'll hurt if you're close to him. Like that's another like aspect of it that makes it cool.
You would have been away from that, but when he like powers up with his flames, he starts draining your health.
There's an effect that pulses out. Yeah.
And it drains your health. It like
is that what it does?
Yeah.
Oh, I assumed it would have just knocked you on your ass.
No, it
does, but
so when he explodes, yes. But like as soon as he gets to like into his like phase 2 or whatever, if you're too close to him, he'll drain your health.
Yeah.
Oh, just because he's so hot.
Yes,
he's so hot.
Oh.
Yeah, and again, this Dark Souls game plays around with things like that. Going back to the Medusa lady,
to be fair, that probably did happen to me. That's a very small arena, and Smelter Demon's very aggressive.
Yeah, he is very aggressive. The poison lady, the poison Medusa, she was in an area that's entirely poisoned. The air is constantly causing you to get inflicted with poison, but you can turn that off by burning a giant wheel.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah, there's things like that.
I didn't know what it did. I was like, I don't know.
There is a boss in the form of an optional boss fighting Vendrick, the king of this land. And you have these souls of giants.
I tried once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it did not work out.
The whole thing is because when you find a soul of a giant, the ones you can only consume for souls, the more you have in that inventory, the less damage he does to you, and the more you do to him. And the recommended is about 4.
The final boss is the same, right? Too. What? The final boss is the same.
Lashundra?
I don't think so.
Isn't she also? I thought I read online that I thought that was also.
That would make sense if that's the case, because I always remember when I played in the past having some difficulty with her at points, and one
I fucking rinsed her.
Oh, I did too. This
it took me like 3 attempts, something like that.
I died the first time just because of because they immediately follow up the Watcher and the Seeker,
which is funny because
with her, and so I died to that. But
it's a different cutscene. Both like there's 2 different cutscenes. There's one where like when she shows up right after, and she like does the thing where she walks through.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another cutscene where like it's just you walking up to her, and it's the same dialogue, but it's a different cutscene.
Oh, I thought it was just like a longer on the like it was just there's more of an intro. Well, and then I thought it cut to the same thing.
Well, no, you just see. So in the first one, like right after you beat the duo, there's like the cutscene where like you see her like awkwardly walk.
Of how she gets into the arena. Yeah.
Just again, I'm kind of going into lore stuff, but they say it in ways where it's very knowable if you're reading the item descriptions, especially in Dark Souls 1. She is a shard of Manus, the father of the character in the DLC, and all of the. You basically have equivalents of Nasandra in the DLCs that are also
Manus
part
from
of her.
Game 1?
Yeah, from the DLC. The giant boss at the end of the DLC that you're fighting in the dark. Certainly matters continuing onwards to Dark Souls 3. But I guess I'll use this as a point. I have to talk about the DLC. I know you and me had some conversations about including it in the whole overall conversation of the game.
Can I finish my top 5?
Yeah, sure.
Number 2, Dragon Aerie / Dragon Shrine.
Very cool area.
I just think visually, so it's the area that has all the dragons in their nests and stuff, and then there's like almost like an improved version of the area where you fight the Dragon Rider.
I'm in.
Where like it's similar looking dudes, but they're all like it's the same thing. Where like if
you like that area that much, huh?
It was cool.
Okay.
It was cool because it was like a leveled up version of that. And it's connected to that big like dragon area where they're all flying around. Dragons flying everywhere. They're screaming. They're yelling. There's like dragons sleeping in the little nests you can fight for like items and shit.
I see why you put them together. I don't know if you noticed if that was why you put it on the list. Part of the reason, but in the Dragon Shrine, the giant knights you fight. Did you guys run past them, or did you fight them all the way up to the end?
I fought most of them.
Oh, okay, most of them, because the other guy should chase you if you try to bypass those fights.
The little guys?
Yeah, they'll start becoming aggro to you. If you skip past the big guys.
Yeah. So
maybe I did kill all the big guys then.
You must have,
because they like straight up looked at me and bowed.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was driving me crazy in the first brush against that, right? Because there's 2 of those smaller dudes who look like
dragons.
No, like Smoke.
They look like Smoke. And
Ornstein,
then there's that first big one, right?
Not Smoke.
But if you just dip to the right, there's like an item in there. And so I kept trying to dip to the right to get an item, and then the NPCs took it as I was avoiding the fight, so they would come in and fight me, and they are way harder than they were really hard. And so I kept dying to those 2 guys going, fuck, man, I might be underleveled for this area. And then finally, when I got my souls and I ended up killing those 2 guys and the big guy, and then going through and killing the next big guy, and then the next guys didn't fight me, and I was like, well, why aren't they fighting me? And then I died somewhere else, and then I came back, and then I just fought the big guy because I don't need to go to the offshoot room, and then they didn't move. And I was like, oh, I get the gimmick. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. It wasn't until then, but it was just funny that like I tripped over it and made it harder for myself as soon as I got there, as opposed to figuring it out the way probably everybody else is supposed to.
Side tangent. You can become those guys. It's called Dragon Form. There's also in Dark Souls 1.
That's pretty cool.
Dragon Covenant.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then number 1, of course.
That's why he screamed in pain, because then his toe was broken.
Oh yeah.
I'm making fun of you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Back to the Lord of the
me
Rings
being a
thing. Back to the Lord of the Rings
douchebag.
thing.
Yeah.
Number 1, of course, we're all expecting it. Drain Lake Castle.
That's part of the game.
Best part of the game.
I wish it was bigger. I wish it was longer. I wish there were more repeated boss fights in there. It's the first time I've ever liked repeated boss fights.
Yeah. I think it was very, very neat. I liked.
Really?
I wasn't expecting to like the gimmick of like some of the enemies you come across like turning from stone to regular, but I thought I was like, oh, which one's gonna come alive? Which one's gonna come alive?
I see. Yeah.
I ended up just fucking hitting every statue.
Right. I was waiting for it. But I also I liked how there's like a little bit of like subtle storytelling like as you go across the castle too. Like there's that picture of like the human version of
Yes,
Nashandra.
you
get too close to her, curse you real fucking quick.
Yeah.
Oh, why is that?
I rolled into that mid-battle, and I was like, "Oh fuck, bad painting."
Cursing not as bad.
and that's also where you see
Cursing's not nearly as bad in this game as it was. In the
not
first game.
near, barely does anything.
Especially if you're wearing that ring.
Yeah.
Where you see the illusion of what's her name?
Nashandra.
You see the illusion of Nashandra there, and talk to her a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm getting conflicting information here.
So,
like, this is cool.
Colin, let me ask you, what's the deal? Because I didn't ever look it up or figure it out. What's the deal with some of these like women who you walk up to and try to talk to, and then they just disappear into like spirits?
That's one where it's certainly an area where these were people that were supposed to live forever and sing. And I usually just tie this into the idea of degradation, about how nothing lasts forever. And when you talk to some of these women, they are saying like, "Oh, we're here forever," and forever.
So the one specifically I look to is one where like it's in Dragon Lake Castle, where like you're at the top, and then you find at some point you get a key somewhere else, and it's like a guy who's like upside down on the cage. You put a key, unlock him, and then you. And then you go in and you try to talk. I tried to talk to this lady that was in the cage, and then as soon as I went to try to talk to her, she like disappeared into a spirit.
Yes, and same looking lady. In fact, haven't had a theory on that.
So I did have a theory on that.
You did. Surprised you didn't say it.
I don't fully remember it. So the function is you are saving these ladies, and then they are teleporting to a different spot on the map. And when you save them all and then go to that spot, they give you a weapon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was never clear to me.
That's what it was.
Yeah, now you know.
I think that quest line is an allusion to Kingdom Hearts.
What?
Wait for it. Because
Seven Princesses of Heart, or
it's
what?
the Seven Princesses of the Heart,
Shut the fuck
right?
up.
There's only 4 of them, so I kind of fall apart a little bit. But the key that you use to save the lady in the Dragon Lake Castle by stabbing the dude who's on the door or whatever, it looks like a keyblade. It looks like a Dark Souls version of a Keyblade, but it looks like a Keyblade. Go look at it again. It looks like a Keyblade. And I was just like, as I was doing this, I was like, Connor, I think this is an allusion to Kingdom Hearts in some way, because they're also talking about hearts and souls and love and shit. And I was like, they're doing something here. This is something here.
I just thought it was weird, particularly that one that was in like that birdcage looking thing that was with the dude.
Yeah.
Just because she didn't even say anything to me.
Yeah, she just
Immediately went
sings
away.
and disappears. Yeah. I think I got 3 of them, and there's like 4. I don't know who I missed.
Okay. How fucking creepy was that? Like the singing tadpole
Demon
thing?
of Song.
Yeah.
That was
Creepy
the one
looking.
that was singing the entire time.
The one with the like frog thing
Frog
with
guy.
the skull
It was
thing?
like it was like it had a frog armor almost.
Yeah.
Creepy.
It was a weird
Sure.
guy. Yeah.
Creepy.
And this leads me, I guess, just a critique that I have for both.
That's my top 5.
Both Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 is that I want the boss fights to be the hard part. I don't want the levels to be the hard part, because the levels being the hard part, allows me to appreciate the level design. So I still want the levels to be challenging, but when the levels are kicking my ass and killing me over and over again,
the boss is easy as
grinding
fuck.
through them, and then I defeat almost every boss on my first try, max 3rd try, it's just like, These are forgettable, man. Like, I'm not spending time learning your moves because you're not worth learning. Like,
That doesn't really completely get fixed. I would say I understand it being a problem in these games. I understand it. Bloodborne, you have certain bosses that are particularly hard, but there's also a lot of ones I think you're going to beat pretty easily.
it's not a problem. I don't have that problem with Sekiro.
Yeah,
Sekiro, the bosses are hard in Sekiro.
They are, but so is the area. They get that balance more so.
Yeah, I think the balance is great there. I feel like Elden Rings is pretty good
Dark
too.
Souls 3 as well. And Bloodborne, I would still say is. I can't. Again, that's a game I can't really criticize.
Elden Ring, I pretty easily remember bosses more than areas. It's pretty even, but I think more often than not, it's bosses over areas.
Helped by the fact that it's an open world, so
Yes.
you're constantly being in like similar biomes
Yeah.
over and over again,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
moving to different ones. But I guess I will say, because I kind of was starting a bit, the DLCs, because I played Scholar, we all played Scholar of the First Sin, are just in that game. To give some background, because me and Tavin have had conversations of how much those are worth in these kinds of reviews. Tavin said basically not at all. I've said it matters to a degree. And again, not so much to the grander conversation of Dark Souls 2, because basically every criticism in terms of level design, in terms of the enemies and how they work in an area, are completely non-existent in the DLC. It does some interesting things with, again, the Shards of Manus and kind of delving into just how time has kept moving forward, because you get similar, every single kingdom you go to are ones that were overseen by a king nobody remembers the name of, for a kingdom nobody remembers the name of, even though they were these grand, amazing things at the time. And it feeds more so into the lead up of Dark Souls 3 of how that's kind of the linking of the fire is futile. In fact, it's not even the good thing you should be doing. Because if you beat all the DLCs, you get all the crowns that you get at the end of them, and you kill Vendrick, you're able to beat him. You get the option of a second ending. Because the ending is you go into the
Is this the one where you get the crown?
Yes.
Okay.
But
He
the
said
decision
something about the crown.
is that you, instead of setting yourself on fire, sacrificing yourself to link the flame, you just walk away from it. There's no point to it. And that's also emboldened by the fact that it talks about dark a lot, especially in the first game where it was more synonymous with like the abyss, right? If you read into item descriptions, going back to Manus, I say this so much because it's so important, especially going into 3, without even including the DLCs, that he was the first human. He was that furtive pygmy that the Dark Souls 1 cutscene first talked about. Now, to this point, humans come from the dark. And this continuous encroachment of the dark, as they kind of keep referring to, overcoming this age of fire, which is synonymous with the age of the gods, as it said in the first game. Again, this is the first thing it tells you. It's the most direct to the viewer thing that the game tells you without having to read item descriptions, is that this is an age that should have passed on to the next one. That we're no longer, we shouldn't be here. And to use that as a mirror to the real world, you know, there was a point in time where in America, we were very much more, we're kind of entering that period now. We were very capitalist minded. We were making children work in horrible working conditions and suffering very badly, all for the name of seeking profit, of being free in terms of what the free market is. But it goes all the way around and ends up being very detrimental to the people. Eventually, that had to give. Even though we hate not really, you know, having to go to 5-day work weeks or 40-hour work weeks, and you can move past that where we are now. At the time, that became this new, great, amazing thing, that we were able to move past this degraded older society, this older way of thinking, and move on to something new. And that's kind of a constant theme that is present in Dark Souls. Again, I say this more in preparation for Dark Souls 3, where it is front and center without any DLC needing to be played. And I know this is kind of weird, me going into this from the conversation of DLCs, but the bosses in there are very good. The level design is very good. And a lot of what people think of with the heights of Dark Souls 2 are connected to those DLCs. This isn't me trying to praise the game or elevate it in our ranking necessarily, but rather just to give its bones of, again, the concept of seeing what worked and what didn't work, and then when you get another go at it, you improved yourself substantially. And the DLC is very emblematic of that, if we're not just talking about the grander Dark Souls trilogy. Just had to put that out there.
No, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's a franchise scoped view that Dark Souls fans have on the lore and things. So then when I'm working through it for my first time, I'm like, all right, it's cool that it's all there. And I'm sure like if I ever played it again, I can see that and dive into it. That's great for replays and stuff like that, which I value very highly. But like, I just don't think the games do a good job of putting me in a vehicle to experience that same thing as well. I think it's weird. It's not weird because with the totality of all the content that is there, I understand why we have multiple endings, but a player cannot make an educated decision off of these endings. Like you're probably choosing the quote unquote bad ending. I don't really think there's a bad ending to these games.
It's not.
I think the multiple endings to these games like really don't mean anything at all. Like
the first one does not. No.
The first one for sure.
I'd say
the second one has more, but it's still like whatever.
From my experience with Souls games in general, I'd say the only one that I've played that matters is Elden Ring.
Definitely matters a lot.
For the different endings.
Sure.
It also very much matters for Bloodborne, like a lot.
It matters a lot for Sekiro as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're also making your choice like, well, I won't say that.
Well, funny because Sekiro is the most convoluted in terms of getting that ending.
You think
by
so?
Far. Oh, by far. The closest is Dark Souls 3, I
Oh,
would
well,
say.
I'm still thinking like I'm not talking the true ending or whatever. I'm talking like just the two base endings.
No, I know. Just any endings in general.
There's only like 3 endings to Sekiro.
There are, but the way you get them is very, very convoluted.
Pretty much, do you kill person A or person B, and then the game makes you make that choice.
I guess the third ending is what I'm more talking about.
Yeah.
where you have to go-
In Elden Ring, there's whole quest lines you have to complete in order to get a certain ending.
Yes, that's their method of making you get the true ending, which is always the most impactful ending. I'm going to walk you through with it in Bloodborne. I'm going to. Like I have. It's not hard. It's easy to. It's actually the easiest. But you're missing out on like a part that makes Bloodborne so likable in a way.
I just feel, and sure, I just feel like From Software fans speak it on like there's no. It'd be like if I tried to describe Star Wars to you and I talked about all 9 episodes. Versus just start with it's the farm boy who goes on the adventure and becomes the hero. That's all I need. Just give me that, so that I have an entryway in so that then I can care about the rest of it. You know what I mean? But if you start talking to me about metachlorians 15 minutes into A New Hope.
Trade blockades.
I'm going to tune the fuck out because who the fuck cares? Or, hey, did you know this little desert boy? He's going to give birth to twins, and those twins are going to go on an adventure who will then inspire another lady on another desert planet to become a hero. I'll be like, all right, fucking cool. Like,
Well, see,
neat. Like,
I think it's a core difference of, once again, the mediums. Because Dark Souls, and I think this is the reason why there's so much community in Dark Souls.
I think Mass Effect works the same way. If I told you Mass Effect with that type of storytelling, you wouldn't care about Mass Effect the way that you care about Mass Effect.
But see, that's the thing. I when I think of these things about Dark Souls and the entire trilogy coming together, the equivalent to that is Mass Effect. The key difference being Mass Effect is a more traditional like narrative.
Point A, point B, to point C.
Exactly. So there's no need to dive deeper. That's why Dark Souls has flourished as much as it did, and why it got such a strong culture that then blew up into what Elden Ring would be.
But
which is that it incentivizes you to dig deep into everything the game has to offer. It makes you read everything. It's that's why a lot of people consider it some of the best video games ever made, because it really says we are a video game and we're going to take that to its absolute end goal of you have to keep playing this game over and over and over again, or read everything very every single time you pick up even the smallest of items, because they might have some clue to unravel what is essentially a mystery. Because everybody else in the world of Dark Souls doesn't know like fuck all. They're constantly telling you, yeah, there's like this guy, I don't know what the hell, even the cat who's like all wise and knows all these things is like, yeah, these guys are just a bunch of old fucks and you gotta go take them out. They're real goddamn old. They got a bad scent too. They smell bad. And, you piece that together because you're the player and you're on that. You're not playing a character who has their own personality and is trying to parse it together themselves. They can't even barely remember their own name. It's you on the player to dive into these things and explore them. And I think that's, again, why Dark Souls has been able to live on so long in the form of not just the games being successful, but also the community behind them, even in between those gaps of games, which admittedly are pretty short, being FromSoft and the run they've been on since Dark Souls 1. They have very small time in between game
The
development.
next game comes out the following year.
Yeah,
like
I
as
know.
opposed to the 3-year difference between Dark Souls 1 and 2. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that.
Bloodborne. And that's like in the
Yes.
middle. Oh, I see.
Bloodborne is the next year.
Okay, yeah.
And then
yeah.
Dark Souls 3, I think, is the year, maybe the year after that.
It's a year after Bloodborne.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, 2014.
Is it 16 for Bloodborne's 15?
Bloodborne's
This is
15.
14.
16 is
It's Dark Souls 3.
Yep.
Really? Wow.
316, yep.
And then they didn't have one until Sekiro in 19.
Correct.
It's weird that they had
That was the
3 years.
Bloodborne team.
Okay, they had to break off and go make Elden Ring, and Elden Ring was so much bigger. Got
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
Got it.
At least I'm to rank this.
Brother, I got so much more to say.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
got
there's a lot.
because this motherfucker want to come in here and talk about lore. I wasn't ready to talk about lore today. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Great point. Fantastic. Loved that. That was excellent. I don't have anything to say about it.
I don't know.
I just,
done
I
this over and
guess
over
just
again.
the way that it would get me invested is if they had characters with narratives that I could follow and care about and get to know them and care about them, that I would be like on board with seeing to the end. The bird mask lady that you talked about.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Lucatiel. Man face. Like a mustache guy. Oh, I see. Sorry.
But it's a woman.
A woman.
Yeah. Okay.
But the mask is a guy's face.
No, I understand. It's
Oh.
it's a mask, but I call it hat lady.
Got that big feather. Stripes.
Stuck a feather in her cap and called it macaroni.
That's a reference I don't get.
It's Yankee Doodle.
Uh-oh. There were so many weird...
My point to that is that's cool, but it kind of feels like, oh man, this is tragic backstory for the sake of tragic backstory, is what kind of these things come off across as. And so I just don't foresee myself becoming engaged in those narratives unless I go and understand everything.
I get it. I only point this out because Lucatiel's isn't her backstory. It's seeing her be an example of what most cursed people go through with the dark sign and seeing their degradation of just not being able to remember things that, because she gives the impression she knows what she's talking about and her own past, and that goes away, and she's just a person who can barely remember anything about it.
The way that these games present their stories makes everything feel like backstory. I guess is what it really is. It feels like the equivalence of watching, a history documentary where they have segments of reenactment of the founding fathers signing the Declaration of Independence. That's what that feels like watching in real time. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, cool, thank you for the visual along with this, and that increases my knowledge of the things happening here. But I'm not attached to it, like personally. Is my perspective on it? Because we didn't even back to the game. Like we didn't even really get into like the numbers of it and the. You have an interesting perspective on weapons for me, where you have the perspective of like and you find and you discover these new weapons, and then suddenly you have all of these options. Maybe I'm just playing these games wrong. But I don't feel like it. It kind of feels like the game wants me to play it this way, where I go, okay, I start my build, and I come to the crossroads, right, where I can either go this way or that way with my build, right, and then I go, all right, well, let me look at what's ahead so that I can make educated choices as a player. So, to me, From Software games are games that you play with guides. Not necessarily to get past them or through them or whatever, just so that you can strategize how the rest of your playthrough is going to go. I don't need tips and tricks on how to get through a level or how to beat a boss, right? I just want to be like, hey, what are the weapons available to me if I go down the intelligence build or if I go down the hex build, right? What are available to me? And so to me, it's not like I discovered this new weapon. It's here's the thing I've been looking for, and I knew it would come here because I looked it up, and now I can start crafting my build around this thing. So it's like I don't see it as like, oh man, now I can experiment and do all these other things. It's for this phase of the game, I'm using this. For this phase of the game, I'm using this, and that could be a set of spells, a sorcerer's staff. It could be a sword. It could be for a little bit of this game, I was using a dagger for the first time. Never done that. For a portion of this game, I was using magic weapon for the first time. Never done that. And so for me, it was like, and I have that same story with all three of these games up to this point. Demon Souls, it's literally like pre my sword and then post my sword. And that's really it. But Dark Souls had the thing of like, well, there was a little bit where I was juggling pyromancy and magic. And then I just went full magic. And then this one, it was, I was juggling buffs and cycling out different weapons and doing things. But it's always in the segments of the games that those parts belong to. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah.
For me, it's I don't dedicate. I don't figure out exactly what stat I'm like dedicating to until I'm like, oh, that looks like a cool weapon. I want to use that. And for me, it was like, okay, so I'll start with this weapon. I'll get like a slight increase if for the majority of I'll do vigor and then endurance to like I'll level those up until because usually I'll get far enough into the game in those level ups where I'm like, okay, this is kind of an idea of what kind of weapon I want to use. And as soon as I find that weapon, it's like, okay, now I'm going to start pouring points into this stat because it'll improve how this weapon performs or how much I can have on equipped with me while also using this weapon. And that's kind of my philosophy is I'll start the game completely blind. I'll just use my starting weapon for the longest time, maybe upgrade it 2 or 3 times. And then I'll usually get far enough into the game itself to where another weapon, random weapon will drop from an enemy, or like I'll find something in a chest. It's like, oh, I like this. Oh, and I can make it with this property. Oh, I'm going to build around this. So now I'm going to start pouring points into this certain stat that improves this weapon in whatever kind of way, whether it's like, oh, it'll make this effect happen quicker, or it'll increase damage, or anything like that, right? And so as soon as I found like the ultra greatsword like class, I was like, oh, dude, this is badass. I'm gonna use this. And I found that one that's just called the greatsword, and that was the one that I finished the entire game with. I'd say probably 85 to 90% of the game I was using that sword. For a minute I thought I was going to want to use the Lost Sinner sword, and then I read more of the text, and apparently you lose health every time you use that sword on an enemy. So I'm not going to use that fucking sword, even though I already dedicated several smithing stones into that.
It's tough.
No big deal.
Tough.
Or smithing stones, Titanite.
So many.
Smithing stones is Elden Ring, but
maybe that's just because from so early on, I'm talking all the way back to Demon Souls, Dex and Strength always had a cohabitation with each other, so like you could kind of build that, whereas like on the magic side, you really, until this game, you do one or you do the other. So like I guess if like intelligence and faith had more symbiosis with each other, then maybe I would have that experience. But because until this game they were separated, I just didn't, but which is why I'm so glad that they added that third type, which is the mix of the two with the hexes, because the hexes are dope.
Yeah, they are. And to your point, both your points, this is why I go back to the replayability, because when you're able to get more stats up, you're able to diversify all the different weapons you're able to use. Like, for example, well, actually, Tab, what did you... Because you had the greatsword. That was like your final build. For me, it was the red iron twin blade.
It was greatsword, and then I think we're using the same armor, that like that boss armor or whatever, the one you get from the merchant.
I get it wasn't a boss armor, but it was armor that
guy sold. I can't remember what.
At least one of them, at least.
I don't know what it was called.
I mixed and matched it.
Well, so it depended on what I was fighting at the time. Sometimes, like if I was able to like handle the fat roll for a certain boss, I would put on some of the Drang Lake set just because it boosted my defense a little bit more.
Get through it.
Just to get through that. So like, there's a few different moments in the game where I was like, okay, I'm fine fat rolling here. I don't really care. I can heavy load this and be fine.
And to that point, because he played so differently from us, Tavin, you had just a short sword. Like, what was your? Because you're magic.
My weapons bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent a chunk of the game at the beginning with just a dagger, and then it became a short sword, and I spent a long time with the short sword. I could have broken off if I wanted to, but I didn't really want to. Like I could have grinded out some stats a little earlier to use like a spear or something if I wanted to. I ended up at some point using I forget what the name is. It's a boss weapon. I want to say it's a halberd. It's semi-early, but not mad early. I forget.
Gargoyle spear?
No.
It would have either been the gargoyle one or the dragon rider one.
I don't think it's either of those. I think I got it later. And so yeah, I put in some points into that and put a little upgrading into that as well. I'll say this is the first one where like I was just dumping mad resources into upgrades. Like, and I was like, because there was a part of me that was just like, well, fuck it. Like, I've got the resources. What I have equipped is already leveled up all the way. So let me dump all these points into this other weapon that would be cooler to use. But let's see if the damage numbers even out in the way. Which is why, like, I kind of feel like the weapon scaling in these games, there's maybe a little too much focus on that, because in lieu of using a cooler weapon, I'm going to use the weapon that has S rank scaling with my chosen stat. You know, like, and so I spent the last third to half of the game just using an enchanted falchion, which you can just find in the Lost Bastille. Phil, help me find that one.
Yeah, I told him. 'Cause it was very similar to the
enchanted falchion from Demon Souls.
It was called something else though. It was like Crescent Falchion.
Crescent Falchion. And then by the time that, like, I had the resources to start infusing is that what it's called?
Infusing, yeah.
Yeah, I could start infusing my weapons. I was like, well, the enchanted falchion already does everything that I personally need it to do. I'm like, I mean, I could have a bleed weapon, but it's not going to do as much damage as my fucking enchanted weapon. Like,
well, that is infused. That's a type of infusion.
Yeah, I know, but I already had it, and so by the time that I could do it again, I didn't need it because I already had it. You know. And it fit with my build because it's a lighter weapon, and I get this, that, and the third. I also don't like how, back to the they're doing too much with stats. I don't like how equip load works in this game.
Yeah.
Which brings me back. Let me stop there. So the 70% threshold, and just having like an off and on switch for your dodge rolling, like, is cool because it allows me to experiment more with gear and equip different gear, but at the same time, it just kind of makes worrying about equip load kind of useless, because you just max that bitch out because nobody gives a fuck about how fast I'm backstepping. Does anybody backstep?
Oh yeah,
you backstep?
Very, very, very little. Just because there was a move, particularly when fighting one of the invaders.
Okay.
And so, like, it was another invader that was using the same sword that I was.
Oh, okay.
And so I would
maybe that would have helped me because the invaders were whooping my ass.
I would backstep and then R1, and it's like a fucking sweep.
Yeah.
Right in front of me, like it's like a quick. It's almost like a backstep and then like a quick step forward and a sweep.
Yeah.
That fucking rinsed. The invaders.
Yeah.
That would screw them.
I just don't care about backstepping or whatever the other like weird moves that you have to put in a strange combination of things. Like
playing a fucking fighting game. No wonder you like these games so much.
I really would rather if it was just dodge, roll, and hit. You know, because that's just how my brain functions for these games. So maybe that's probably a me problem. But I feel like most players play this way.
Do you not ever use any like jumping strikes or anything like that? Because I use those.
Not really.
Yes, it would depend.
Like a jumping heavy attack, I use that all the time.
Not really. I feel like a lot of these attacks put me at risk more than the reward is worth.
Certainly in your case, because we were putting out like big, heavy damage.
Yeah.
Especially Phil.
Yeah.
And so
well,
that
also,
kind of,
you know, because to me the leaping attacks, I could do that, and it's like the equivalent of like 1.5 hits. But I could do 2 hits in the time that I could do a leaping attack. You know,
it's again.
Whereas you guys, it's probably
more like 2.5.
not that case.
Yeah.
Well, to go back to it, the NPC invaders, you can, because they're running up to you, and that's how you get in with your attack motion before they're in to do their own.
Yeah.
There's more of a chance where they're not going to be able to poise through it.
And also with like how long the Ultra Great Sword is, like my reach is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
and I kind of touched on it. The thing that fact that poise damage is the first time this has been a thing in these games, where if you hit enemies a certain amount of time and do a invisible system of damage that makes them off balance, it then gets you more time to hit them.
Even Magic has it. So some of the dudes who are just big shields who block entire hallways. Terrible enemy design.
Oh, in the crypt.
Yeah. That was my least favorite part of the whole fucking game. Wasn't
that bad? It was bad.
It's just stupid. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, all right, I've got a spell that's 30 hits, and
did you have
your poison damage now? I'm gonna do 6 of these and then hit you with a big one.
I never heard you talk about it, but so I hardly ever use my torch in this game. Did you in the Undead Crypt? Did you have your torch lit whenever those guys were like, "Hey, turn your light off" or something like that?
Oh no, they told me that and I turned it off.
Oh, okay. I was curious if like I felt like you would have encountered that because I feel like
happens.
I feel like you would have had your torch out the entire time.
It's just the dudes up there would attack you, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
But like every other room, it's just regular.
I just never used my torch.
Huh?
Yeah,
it's just in that one room where
The only other time I ever used my torch in this game was in the gutter. It's the only other time I used it.
Yeah.
So if you used them with the spiders in the cave, they back up. They're scared of you. They won't come to you at all. And so that boss fight, because I think you said you were
Oh,
getting
and Freya?
ganged on by the.
Oh no, I was fine.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if you put you don't even have to deal with the spiders at all. If you have a quick,
Yeah,
a torch
I
in
was
your hand.
totally fine against Freya.
Oh, okay.
I've got
The Duke's dear Freya.
Yes.
to my point of this game gameplay wise just feels cheaper. Like it just feels cheaply made is because like
Can I just say?
yeah.
Imagine like I'm talking now that we're talking about Duke's dear Freya. Imagine being a fucking dragon getting taken down by a fucking spider.
He got wrapped up, man. He got wrapped up.
You're a fucking dragon.
Yeah, you know, the spider's fast.
Not that spider.
In D&D,
I'll
hey,
be honest, the spiders give me more trouble than the dragons do.
by the way,
Maybe
Magic the
maybe we're
Gathering,
overrating what dragons are.
Magic the Gathering has reach. Spiders
Well,
usually
yeah.
have reach.
Dragons
That's a
have
good thing.
flying.
Yeah.
Reach. Magic Gathering. Reach stops flyers.
Because the nets, the
Yeah.
webs.
Yeah, I get it.
But Tavin, you were saying cheap.
You breathe fire though. Come on.
Another point to that. Shout out Mr. Iron Coon in the chat.
Rike.
Hey.
There's like I just think like when I press the dodge button or when I swing the sword, it just doesn't feel as well. I've established that already of my opinion on that. There's also the like enemies like cock their sword back and begin their swing, and at that point the momentum should mean that they're locked into where they're gonna hit. So I dodge, but then they are able to, without moving their feet, rotate on the ground and still hit me anyways. If I don't dodge just a few moments later, right? So like there's just a mismatch of what the physics engine is telling me and then what it can actually do. And then and that I guess less the physics engine but the animations.
I found myself like, there's a big part of the FromSoft thing where like you're learning this game is to not panic roll. I found myself panic rolling way more than any other Dark Souls game playing this game.
Because it's harder to tie into like I don't know where the frames are because the animations are not detailed enough to deliver the important information to me. And then my big thing about it, and this another thing with boss fights are killing this game for me, man. And level design is it is so easy to manipulate this boss AI to spam the same move again and again and again, and then just take full advantage of bait and punish to the point to where I'm not engaging with this boss fight. I'm just manipulating it. And it's that way across the board. Pretty much almost every single boss fight is that way. I even saw Connor fight a fight, which I never fought.
Which one was that?
The weird spirit lady who was like doing late.
Dark Lurker, yeah.
She split into two. Never fought her. Didn't know where she
I don't
was.
think I fought her either.
There's the old guy in the wheelchair. Do you guys ever run into
I
him?
couldn't get
ran
up
into
there.
him,
I
but
saw him, but I couldn't get up there.
It's a part. It's another like path
Oh,
you get
okay.
to.
Yeah. His little quest, you basically find him 3 times because he's in 3 locations, and on the third one you find him on, whatever that happens to be. He's like, okay, you're pretty into the dark. Let me teach you about the dark. And you give him a humanity.
Right?
Yeah, give him a humanity, and then you can jump into these little trials, going down these wells. And once you do all 3, on the third one, well, all of them have flames that you can light there, like these big cauldrons. And when you light all 3 of them and you exit one of those levels, you go to the Dark Lurker boss fight, which is a good boss fight.
All that to say, like, I thought it was really easy just because I was a magic-based fight, which, like, it's happened before in, like, Dark Souls 1 and in Demon Souls where I'm like, all right, I'm able to manipulate this with magic because it is what it is. But I was like, dude, I am breaking every single fight. Not in the sense of, like, oh, I'm so overpowered, but just in the sense of, like, I can easily just break this fight by, not manipulating,
Gaming.
taking advantage of by just like taking advantage of
Manipulating. I don't know.
yeah, I'm just taking advantage of this one move that they are going to spam if I stand at this specific thing. And I thought it was because I was a magic build.
You're baiting him.
But then I watched Connor do it, and Connor's the same thing. He's fucking dodging, and then the boss is spamming the same move 7 times in a row. And I'm like, this is just poor designed AI. Like I just don't see how we don't see these cracks in the wall. Like this is
I see him. It just again that first of all the issue of like them changing the direction of their hits. Again, because once you get used to the feel of the game, you know when an enemy's attack is going to be able to hit you or not hit you. And I just think this is something that comes as a byproduct of not being able to game. Because I do agree, the AI of the bosses is inferior to like Dark Souls 1, where you really can't do that. You could kind of do it Demon Souls from what I remember, Demon Soul, but I found that the more you're like constantly up on the opponent, that's when they more often change up their attacks constantly. Few exceptions, but for the most part, that's the case for both enemies and the bosses. And that's why I think this is the last time where having a pure magic build can kind of get through certain things a lot easier than if you were to.
But I don't
do
think
that.
it's a magic build thing here, because I saw you doing it too. And you can bend for the game and say, oh, but if you do this instead, sure. But it's still way too easy to do it. Like it's still it's a problem in the game, and you are changing how you play to make it more interesting than it is. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of like, and to the point, like the you just have to get used to it. At what point is that not an acceptable excuse? Because I'm not saying we've crossed that line, but we're getting close to where, just get used to it is an acceptable excuse for how game feels.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that, because there is a level of downgrading from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. It's just, it's more in those kind of the way people clown on the game.
Yeah.
You know, posting those clips of attacks that clearly
miss, and then
yet.
you get to the pursuer's stab move.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And can I say, I like the idea of a recurring boss, like the pursuer,
Like
that's
chasing
coming,
you through all the
that's
levels.
chasing you through the levels and so forth. I think it's just they didn't really do anything with it. The dude's got multiple weapons on his back. Use them. His spirit form has dark orb moves. Use more of those. Like, why is it the exact same attack pattern every single time? To where it's just like, it's all right. It's not a matter of me getting better or stronger. It's just how much health do you have, and how many times do I have to hit you until you fall down?
I don't feel like in this game I could just be like in this series rather. I could just be misremembering, but I don't think the enemies are reading my inputs yet. You know what I mean? Where like sometimes
They are if you have a bow and arrow.
Right. Like I think of like Elden Ring, where it felt like, as particularly the Godskin duo.
Yeah.
Where like it felt like as soon as you went to take a flask, they were instantly like hitting you to interrupt you.
Yep.
I feel like we're not at that point yet where they're reading my inputs.
I felt we were closer in the last game.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I still don't think we've encountered an enemy in this series like up to this point where they're reading our inputs yet.
To my point of the joke I just made, but like, what's up with these bow and arrow guys? Why are they able to track the target like the way that they do? Like it's just like, how the fuck did you know I was gonna turn there? Like I don't know.
Well, also like if you look at the trajectory of these arrows, it follows you.
They bend. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's unrealistic.
It is.
In my game about dragons and souls and ghosts and
yes, but we have to have rules, and we have to follow those rules. And Dark Souls 2 does a poor job of following its own rules.
Unrealistic.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get
sentient suits of armor.
Let's get into ranking their Dark Souls 2. Of course, we rank every game that we play in the game club. I'm gonna start bottom of C tier. I'll tell you what, Iron Keep and Drink Lake Castle saved your ass. I was gonna put this it was fighting Chain of Memories for a minute there. Those two levels saved your ass. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, okay. You're saying you're starting bottom of C tier and you're gonna.
I'm gonna start at bottom of C tier and work my way up. Where do I need to stop, gentlemen? Top B? Do I need to go through all the way through B?
Top of B. Top B is where you can start.
All right. Number 30.
It's not. There's no way it's getting past B tier.
Number 37, BioShock. Number 36, Donkey Kong Tropical Fuck.
I can do it, Tavin, if you would like to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna volunteer too.
Someone do it.
Good, Phil.
Number 37, we have BioShock. Number 36, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 35, we have Prey. Number 34, Tomb Raider. Number 33, Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. Number 32, we have Alan Wake. Number 31, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 30, Uncharted 1. Number 29, we have Demon's Souls. Number 28, Signalis. Number 27, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 26, Dead Cells. 25, Shadow of the Colossus. Number 24, Mario 64. Number 23, Resident Evil 4. 22, we have Portal. Number 21, Kingdom Hearts 2. Number 20, Dark Souls. 19, Banjo-Kazooie. 18, Ratchet & Clank. 17, Pokemon Soul Silver. And number 16, Severed.
It's going above B tier. No.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Even if you tried, me and Tavin would bring it back down.
I'm gonna get mine out of the way here. For a long time, this was fighting Tomb
Demon's
Raider.
Souls?
Oh, it was fighting Chain of Memories for a minute, but it quickly got out of there. But it was fighting Tomb Raider for a minute. And then eventually I was like, okay, yes, this game it's more consistent in quality than Demon Souls, which takes it above. I'll say I still like and have favorability for Demon Souls, but it's just a like not as well produced video game.
That's exactly where I'm at. I think I have some like there's a really big soft spot in my heart for Demon Souls overall. But this is far and away a better video game, I would say.
I don't know if it's that far and away better. To me, genuinely, I don't think we are doing an honest job talking about games under the scope of, yes, the quality of the game, how well it's aged over years, but also its impact and also its influence on game design, game culture, and how we talk about video games. Like Dark Souls changed the game. Bloodborne changed how game developers make games, right? You can see it post. Dark Souls 2, I don't think has that legacy behind it. I think it is another one.
Outside of FromSoft's legacy.
What an easy thing to say as the person going first.
I guess.
Saying, well, obviously, if you guys do exactly the opposite of what I'm saying, you guys are shitty.
Well,
I'm better than you if you guys do this.
I know this is Tavin's ranking. I totally get what he's saying. In fact, spoiler alert, that's my biggest contention here.
Okay.
But I'm going in the opposite direction you would go.
I genuinely I think this is just another one. And the fact that I think you had the formula, you just needed more money and production behind it to make it good, and then you messed the formula up, which I can respect because it means you make great games later, but we're not there yet. And so for this one, I have to be honest with myself on how much I enjoyed the game, which was not very much. I think this game is incredibly forgettable and more frustrating in ways that are just dumb to me. Like this, I should not be frustrated at there shouldn't be 11 dudes with big swords in a room chasing me out of that room. You know, like that just shouldn't happen. And it's not the difficulty of it. It's just that the fact that it happens. To me, we are not being honest in what we are trying to do with this list if it gets above Halo Combat Evolved. Because at least Halo has impact. It has influence. Sure, has not aged the best over time at all. Not saying that. It has level design that is, I think, just as faulty as Dark Souls 2.
I was going to say, like, hallways after hallways after. People joke and call it hallways Combat Evolved.
I think Dark Souls 2 is hallways... Whole Souls. Like that...
I said there's less hallways in Dark Souls 2 than there are in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
All right.
Because those hallways would be like interconnected and layered on top of each other. This one is a pretty straight shot.
I mean, it's straight shot, but actual like hallways is usually not with the straight shots don't come in the form of like hallway after hallway after hallway.
Yeah,
I just think that's the biomes where the level design is able to be superior than some other games because they're so
just
different.
In the sense that Manjula is your central hub, and then it's 6 hallways split off of that. Yeah, all right, cool. But like, what is the Undead Parish in Dark Souls 1? Where it's that first like castle level where you're going through, and it's like I think of like how interconnected those different segments of that level were, and it's like, oh, I unlocked this shortcut. Oh wow, now I don't need to go through this area ever again. Like,
and then you have Lost Izalith.
The money ran out. like
time and money.
Yes, but like Halo made twin stick shooting on console work. It made first person shooters on console work. It laid the foundation for what would eventually be multiplayer gaming in a very important way. And on top of that, it delivered a story that I'm more interested in than I am here. And it's a universe that I'm more interested in than I am here personally. Maybe that's me because I'm just not being a fucking nerd. No, I'm just not doing the work of reading all of these item descriptions and stuff. But I don't think the game does a good job of making me want to do that, you know? And so, yeah, for me, it was fighting Signalis for the hardest time, but like I think Signalis is more of a nothing burger than Dark Souls 2 is, so Dark Souls 2 can win out there. I don't think we're being honest to the story of video games as a medium if we allow it to go above Halo and certainly above Shadow of the Colossus. Connor.
There it is. I'm going above both those games. And further beyond, the real thing I'm going to get hated for is putting it above Mario 64. My main issue with that game, because to your point, Tavin, yes, those are all true, but that at the same time makes us overlook the game itself more so than the effect of the game. Because, I mean, that only matters, to your point, to a very select group of people. Like, at the end of the day, if you really want to hone
Right, but
in
we
and
are
focus
trying to
in-
be those people.
See, we're trying to be those people, and that's an element we can examine. But then this is a whole game ranking. If somebody just looks at this game ranking, they're not going to say, oh, well, of course, that game was above that other one because it had so much more impact personally. There's so many lists that do that.
I
And
think people will be mad at how low we have Mario 64.
there already are people that are upset about
Yeah,
that,
it's true.
I guarantee you.
So
yeah.
so I
But
think
again,
that makes
people are-
your point mute.
People are
that's
mad
my
about
point.
Bioshock.
But that's exactly. People were upset about Bioshock. That's not a game you would defend the same way with Mario 64 because that one didn't have that same level of impact. But that's all it has. Like, in terms of the game itself, it's not that much of a different level of quality on the game itself than Bioshock. I think you guys rated that lower than you maybe should have. People focus more on the game itself. For example, Resident Evil 4 as well would say that's too low. We played Resident Evil 4.
Mhm.
That's far more important than a lot of the games that it's above, but at a certain point, that it's below. But at a certain point, that kind of becomes moot. Mute? I don't think I've ever
It's
said
moot.
that right. Moot.
Yeah.
I've always thought that, but
Moot point. Yep.
my issue is that I can't bring myself to put a game over or above something because of that alone, which would be the only reason I would put it below Mario 64 and Resident Evil 4. No, not entirely. That's not entirely worded right because I'm putting this below Resident Evil 4 because Resident Evil 4 at a base level, it's certainly
More fun.
It's more fun. The issue is that the game. I'm wanting to kind of put it above Resident Evil 4 because it falls off so much, whereas this one's far more consistently the quality that you would expect from Dark Souls 2, 10 hours in and 30 hours in. But Resident Evil 4 does have just such a strong start, and it still is, from a gameplay perspective, fun all the way through. It's campy all the way through. It's got your attention. Whereas, again, going back to Mario 64, there is a clear point where the way people talk about that game has a stopping point. And beyond beyond that first room, when people talk about the magnificence of Mario 64, they're not talking about that. They're talking about the beginning area and like the very last level, and that's it.
I don't think they're talking about the last level. I think they're talking about probably
Bowser
the first
fight
in Mario.
in Mario, the Bowser fight is what I should be saying. More.
Oh, I guess. I don't know. I think people are talking about the first 3 levels of Mario.
Yeah, they're talking about Bomb Battlefield. They're talking about like Dire Docks. They're talking
Yeah.
about
The ice, with the first ice level, whichever one that was.
Mhm.
I think it's the one where you do the slide down. And
yeah,
and
it's
shit.
the one with the penguins. I
Yeah.
just can't remember the name of it. Freeze Easy Peak. No, that's Banjo.
Connor, I think you hear me bring up the word influence and impact, and then you turn your ears off on the rest of what I say. Genuinely, like, I don't think I think Halo and Dark Souls 2 are about the same level of quality of video game.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for you is what that means for you.
Well, I get what you're
right?
saying.
So that's what I'm saying. And it's because Halo has impact and influence, it rises above. Now, Mario is a much higher level of impact and influence. So, yes, it is carrying itself further. But we're talking 4 slots. Like, yes, the gameplay part of it holds it back. That's why it's not that's why Kingdom Hearts 2 is higher. You know? Like, I don't think you are listening to the amount of nuance that I am putting into the conversation.
I just feel like whenever you do say that, you give nuance into it. So many lists I've seen, which is what we're ultimately trying to do. We could put as much flowery language behind how important we're trying to make the list in terms of thinking of all the aspects of it, but it's you're numberizing things that you really don't need to put numbers on. Like, for example, as you've said before, there is a lot of the best games on this list that are substantially lower than another one of the best games.
Yeah.
And I just see other lists, and I see so many of those categories only put there because of the thing you're talking about and ignoring all of the other elements to it. So I get what you're saying when I forget that
But
nuance.
I didn't put Mario 64 in the top 10, Connor. I put it in the 20s.
No, I know, and
It's gonna eventually sink to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Like,
that's why I think you're also on the same wavelength of me, where it's more about the game quality. I just see that element of what you're talking about elevates it farther than even I would say that deserves to be put.
I guess I think you're just willing to throw out impact and influence in a way that in some cases becomes disrespectful.
I understand that, and I probably would be more likely to be disrespectful when you're creating a numberized list, because that immediately puts value of one game over the other definitively. Like when you rank it above it.
Okay, so
the nuance comes in the nuance comes in the
exact
conversation.
same list, take the numbers off. Does that make a difference?
Well, you immediately can put the numbers in your head from how they're ranked, and you're going to say,
sure.
"Well, that game's above that one, so it's better."
I
It
just
makes
don't
it
hold. I
easier
don't
to
hold. I
digest.
don't hold the numbers as a credence. Like like the numbers aren't a thing to me. It's me putting games above other games.
I agree, but see, the numbers is just the paint you're putting over it. It's the exact same effect. It's the same thing in the same way we put the tiers on there. I mean, like that's actually a better way to determine where the games are in quality, because at that point you can say the tier is the tier. A B tier game is a B tier game, rather than a game is number 20 when it's below number 16.
I mean, I think we still have that conversation with the tiers, and Dark Souls 2 is a C tier game.
Those things, ranking of games, the influence and the impact of games comes about through the conversation rather than the actual structure of the list, which is always going to be a part of these conversations. Because we could talk, like, for example, we talked about Dark Souls 2 far more entertainingly than we did Dead Cells, which you're putting it below. We were far more down on that game, had less of an interesting conversation about it, and had fun things to say about it.
Dead Cells is a better constructed video game than Dark Souls 2.
It's in a way it is, but not entirely in a way where it's more fun.
The way that he's like conceding and then not conceding to the point.
Yeah, because this is a very nuanced conversation. It's just that the whole idea of, well, this was impactful shouldn't matter when we're just trying to gauge quality against quality.
I hear you. To me, our list says nuance, and there are now 43 episodes with this one to give you that level of nuance and conversation. There's a reason Dead Cells shouldn't be above Halo, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I voted it that way. You are talking to someone who is willing to hear your side of like, okay, but the quality of video game. I'm hearing your side. That's why these games are where they are. But at some point, man, it's disrespectful to put a game that you can skip above a game that, like, if you want to be about this life, you shouldn't skip Halo 1.
But see, that's the issue. It's not a matter of respect. I'm talking about the game's quality rather than disrespecting another game because I'm putting it above or below it. Again, going back to the tiers, I think what you're saying with this being a nuanced conversation from the structure of the list is because of that rather than the number.
I guess. To wrap this up so that we can get to Phil, I think you're talking to a guy who sees Halo as the exact same level of quality as Dark Souls 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think even from the
I don't feel any. I'm more of a fan of Halo than I am of Dark Souls, so I'm just more willing to reach for that. But I don't want to play this game again. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think it's a good game. It's not bad, but it's not good. Mm-hmm. And as I said at the top of this episode, like, I will probably eventually give it another try in the future, but it's just because my memory will fade and I'll go, was I too hard on Dark Souls 2? And then I'll get 10 hours into it and be, no, I was right. Mm-hmm. Much like how I do with Resident Evil 4, where I'm like, am I too hard on that one? And then I get 10 hours into it and I go, no, I was right. Mm-hmm. And a number of other games on this list that I do the exact same thing for, up and down the scale. You're just I just don't see the quality that you see here that would allow it to rise above the impact and the influence that is there. Because yes, I don't want to play Mario 64 ever again, but I don't think it's like aged that poorly to where it is that much lower than Dark Souls 2.
And that's my issue, where the age of it makes it to where a lot of the roadblocks you're coming up on with that game isn't because the game designed to be that way. It's just because the game's outdated in a way where you just fall off this small little strip of land you're on because the character doesn't control well.
Right.
Even to go to Shadow of the Colossus, you're doing the same thing, the entire gameplay experience, doing like, oh, I'm going to go right to that spot and stab that spot, and that feels the exact same way. And every other time you did it, even though the grandness of it is altered in different moments, and it is still just fun to do, but it's the same thing over and over and over again.
I mean, I like Shadow of the Colossus more than Mario 64, personally, but Mario's more impactful, so it gets the one spot higher. Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty easy thing to say. I don't know.
I mean, I would say, I don't know what I voted on at the time. Certainly if time would pass, because as we've known, my opinions on when time...
A month ago, you said Dark Souls 2 was easily better than 1.
Well, I would say that. I'm not saying this on the
insanity
thinking cap on. But I can't remember. Oh, yeah. I would put Shadow of the Colossus above Mario 64 because the age of Shadow of the Colossus
A
doesn't
game that's
make me
5 years older.
What?
It's 5 years older than Mario 64 in an era where every year mattered way more than it did. So yeah, Shadow of the Colossus has aged less because it's had less time to age.
Also, the oversight.
And it's following in the footsteps of Mario 64.
Well, also the oversight we have is we played the remake, which even though you could say, yeah, it's the same game, especially because Shadow of the Colossus is so one note, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It knows what it's doing.
I mean, I've played both versions.
Yeah, but we didn't, like when we were ranking this, for example, we weren't basing it off of that old game that existed then. And Mario 60, that's like playing a remake of Mario 64 and then acting like it's the original. There's just not as much of a jump.
Sure, yeah, I don't.
If we played the DS version,
I don't think the versions aren't that different. But I think like it runs smoother, the frame rate's better, it looks beautiful. Game feels not that much different.
I would have to play because again, I'm only basing it off.
Yeah, I mean, I played the original a decade ago, so
did I.
Yeah, I just can't remember 100%. So like, I mean. But we're not even talking about Shadow of the Colossus like in terms of where it ranks right now. So like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think putting Dark Souls above those games that we've listed is disrespectful to those games.
I could be disrespectful to them.
Phil,
Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 1?
Dark Souls 2.
So yeah, for the longest time, I was in the same boat. Sorry. Let me rephrase. For the longest time, I thought this game would be right below Shadow of the Colossus at the bottom of B tier. But then as we've like had this conversation and I think back more, and I really do think that Tavin has done a good job of convincing me and laying out his argument, and I think this now becomes for me the new number 28, right below Halo, above Signalis. Is that exactly where you had it? Or?
That's exactly where I had it.
Yeah. Okay. I thought maybe you had it below Signalis.
Thought about it.
So you were in the same boat.
No, I said for the longest time I wasn't.
Oh.
And then now he's done a good job. I mentioned that he's done a good job with his argument and his laying out his opinions there that I think I agree with his assessment. I don't necessarily think it would be disrespectful to put it above Halo. I honestly I think it would be disrespectful to Dark Souls 2 to put it below Dead Cells. But I just think from how we have the list here with Dead Cells above Halo, that's just kind of how it pans out for me, where I think this becomes the new number 28.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting thought of it being disrespectful to Dark Souls 2 above Dead Cells.
Well, since I ranked it above it, I can understand that.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Dark Souls 2, I think it's a lot more ambitious, I feel, than Dead Cells is. And I'm not saying that to like say that Dead Cells isn't like trying to do a lot for like what it's doing. I think it's exceeding a lot in being a good like roguelike.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more like in a bottle, where as opposed to Dark Souls 2, you can kind of break it open, you know, where you can have all these like new game pluses and have your stats go fucking crazy and be like one-shotting stuff like nobody's business.
I think Dark Souls 2 is the fans of Dark Souls 2 and the way they talk about it. I get it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like 100%. I think the potential is way more there for Dark Souls 2. Like there's where that like
it should be remade then. I mean, you got to remake.
Probably not before Bloodborne.
There was something I meant to say, and I pulled it up.
Bloodborne just needs a remaster.
I pulled it up when he said it, but Phil was like, "Oh, I think this game's beautiful," and it certainly is for the time, especially for the time. But like
that's how I remember
loading it up and being like, "This might visually be a step down from Dark Souls."
Well, the font certainly is. The font certainly is.
Oh, the fonts! Oh my god, it's the cheapest fucking holy shit!
It's a great font.
This is how nitty gritty we need to get. All right. But I was looking at it, because we played Dark Souls Remastered, and that came out in 2018.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's why I feel that way. So it's actually impressive that Dark Souls 2 looks as good as it does, because I think it looks on par, maybe a slight step down visually from Dark Souls Remastered, right? And so to be 4 years earlier, that's impressive.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the where I'm going to finally hang Dark Souls 2's hat, is right above Signalis and right below Halo Combat Evolved.
There we go.
There it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, new Dark Souls 2 ranking number 28. above Signalis, below Halo Combat Evolved. Let us know where you have it down in the comments below. Connor, excellent job on this episode, sir.
Wow.
You did fantastic work. That's some great podcast.
Handshakes all around.
Everybody did great. Everybody did great.
Good work, everybody.
Look at our
Great.
pat ourselves on the back.
Connor, that was some great podcasting right there.
Oh God.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us know how you feel about Dark Souls 2, where you would put it on our list, and make sure that you stay subscribed and you like this video so that the algorithm feeds you some more content, because next month we will be back with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2.
Boring game, cheat game, because it's 2 games in 1. But we'll do it.
When we revisit the influence impact conversation, I think that'll be interesting, because you can't give it that, even though like you would want to, because it's we're gonna have that same conversation again. Anyways, not that I think 1+2 is gonna have that much to say on that hill, but the quality of the game will. Anyways, so make sure you're subscribed for more content, because that is coming up next month. And until next time, have a great time, gentlemen. Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.